If you've ever looked at a massive beverage corporation and thought, how on earth do they measure their actual impact on society? Well, you are in exactly the right place. In today's Explainer, we're totally decoding the complex world of corporate reporting, specifically zeroing in on an industry that faces, quite frankly, immense public scrutiny. We're going to take a structured look at exactly how these giant companies are forced to be transparent, so let's just dive right into this.
How do we hold alcohol companies accountable for their social cost of their products? I mean, it's a massive question, right? For decades, Wall Street literally just looked at profit margins, supply chains, sales volume, you name it. But alcoholic beverages come with a really unique, profound social cost. Today, we're decoding the exact accounting standards that force beverage companies to put a hard, quantifiable number on human behavior and social responsibility. It's a super fascinating look at the intersection of public health and corporate finance. So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover standardizing beverage industry sustainability, the risks of irresponsible drinking, tracking ads and compliance, the price of breaking rules, promoting responsible alcohol consumption, and finally, why these metrics matter. Let's get to it.
Section 1. Standardizing beverage industry sustainability.
Okay, so the framework we're looking at today comes from the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, or SASB for short, specifically their standard for the alcoholic beverages industry. And interestingly enough, back in August of 2022, the International Sustainability Standards Board, the ISSB, actually took over responsibility for these SASB standards. Now, these aren't just polite suggestions, guys. These are rigorous standards designed to help companies disclose sustainability risks that could reasonably be expected to hit their cash flows, access to finance, or cost of capital.
When you break down the standard itself, the scope is honestly massive. You've got your operational requirements like energy and water management, which is absolutely vital since brewing and distilling require astronomical amounts of water. You've got packaging life cycle, ingredient sourcing, but right there in the middle is this highly unique human-centered category, responsible drinking and marketing. And while the environmental metrics are obviously incredibly important, we're going to look a lot closer at this specific human element today.
We are putting a magnifying glass entirely on responsible drinking and marketing. Because, think about it, how exactly do you put a hard metric on human behavior and corporate influence? Well, let's find out.
Section 2. Risks of irresponsible drinking.
Look, when things go wrong here, the fallout is absolutely devastating. We're talking drunk driving, addiction, underage drinking, and just super broad public health issues. Every single year, alcohol consumption contributes to millions of global deaths, and that includes a sizable proportion of underage youth and young adults. It's a particularly acute concern in countries that might lack strong laws to protect against alcohol's detrimental effects. And for a corporation, ignoring this isn't just a moral failing. No, it triggers massive taxes, sprawling lawsuits, and it can literally destroy their right to do business in a community.
Section 3. Tracking ads and compliance.
18. This is the magic threshold in the SASB standard. Companies are required to disclose the exact percentage of ad impressions landing on people of legal drinking age. And what about countries with no legal minimum age? Well, the standard forces them to use 18 as a strict, non-negotiable baseline to calculate those impressions. This ensures that no matter where a company operates on the globe, they are held to a firm, hardline standard to protect youth.
But they can't just guess who is watching. They have to use rigorous math. Actually, scratch that. It's highly specific math. They use gross rating points for TV and print and heavy demographic tracking for digital. And amazingly, even for embedded product placements in movies or video games, they have to prove expected audience sizes and recall measures. Basically, they have to leave a concrete paper trail proving their marketing is actively targeting adults and definitely not children.
Section 4. The price of breaking rules.
So companies have to report every single dollar lost to fines, civil judgments, and regulatory penalties. But the standard has this brilliant little caveat. Monetary losses completely exclude their own legal defense fees. By keeping those fees out, the metric isolates the actual tangible penalty the company faced for its actions. It totally prevents companies from muddying the waters and inflating the numbers with their lawyers' astronomical hourly rates. Pretty smart, right?
Section 5. Promoting responsible alcohol consumption.
All right, under this framework, companies have to report on their engagement targets. But what actually counts as engagement? The standard strictly defines it as direct face-to-face contact, remote learning, or a forum that permits real, two-way dialogue. Meaning, slopping a tiny Drink Responsibly logo on a highway billboard absolutely does not count. Not even a little bit. They have to prove active human interaction.
When companies report on these programs, they have to prove they are actively out there fighting harmful behaviors. They must detail their active efforts to reduce underage drinking, their boots-on-the-ground interventions to prevent drunk driving, and exactly how they're tackling binge drinking. This means documenting in-person consumer engagement and actively training the retailers, who, actually hand over the bottles. The whole point is moving way beyond passive warnings to proactive, measurable prevention. So how do they actually prove this? Well, it's a step-by-step process. First, they define the exact scope, like is this a local initiative or a global product campaign? Then, they tie it to overarching global goals like the World Health Organization's guidelines. They must lay out the financial investments and frankly admit the risks or limiting factors. Finally, they have to prove the execution. Are they actually in the community educating parents, youth, and retailers on the severe consequences of alcohol misuse? It is a comprehensive, high-stakes action plan.
Section 6. Why these metrics matter.
At the end of the day, it really comes down to corporate survival. Failing to manage these social costs results in extraordinary expenses and absolutely ruined reputations. A society simply won't tolerate a company that harms it. Conversely, doing the right thing through active community engagement, education, and responsible marketing actually improves market share. It prevents long-term liabilities and avoids those massive regulatory expenses. Basically, the social good genuinely becomes the financial good.
I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought. We've seen how meticulously these standards force alcohol companies to track ads, report fines, and prove their actual community engagement. But is transparent reporting enough to really change corporate behavior, or is it just the first baby step toward true corporate responsibility? It's a question definitely worth exploring further. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, keep looking at the data, and I'll see you next time.